Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Mike McCammon, the Executive Director of the NFC Forum. I'd like to welcome you to our open forum. Look, the date says July. It's actually June 22nd of 2022. I'm coming to you from Fort Lauderdale for an event, the IoT event that'll be happening here later today. I look forward to having you join us for today. We have some very interesting topics. And without further ado, let's go ahead and go to the next slide, and I can give you some quick background information. As far as how housekeeping goes, we've probably all gotten very accustomed to this, doing online conferences. You'll see in your control panel, you are defaulted by mute by the organizer when you come in. There is a questions pane. There is some time in a couple of the sessions to ask questions. If you do like to ask, you can do that from there. They'll be asked by the moderators if there's time allowing. And immediately following the webinar, there will be a short survey that'll pop up. If you could please take a few moments to fill that out, that'd be fantastic. All right, next slide, please. The agenda for today is very packed. I won't spend much time reading this here, but basically, this is myself. I'm doing the kickoff. I'll then pass it very briefly here in a second to Prati, who's the chairperson of the board. And then we'll be going through a series of interesting presentations around the use of NFC in a variety of different use cases that are all very, very interesting. We'll conclude today with the announcement of our Innovation Award winners. There's 5 winners that we are going to announce later in the call. And then following that, I'll do a very, very quick brief update on some key activities that are happening in the forum and ways you might become involved. And then that'll be it. Next slide. Before we do get started, I do want to thank our 2 sponsors. The premier registration sponsor is the Dentiv, and our supporting sponsor is Shenzhen Khan, one of our more recent associate members. I do want to thank both of these organizations for the support. It makes programming like this possible and free to various individuals and yourself who'd like to attend. Thank you. Next slide. All right, and with that, I will pass it over to Prati to do a quick overview of the NFC Forum. Prati.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. You can hear me good?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. And for the first time, and that's why probably Mike faltered a bit, I'm joining you here as NFC Forum Chair. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our open forum. Thank you all for joining us. For the next 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you a story. The story is about a technology we come into contact every day with almost daily, but rarely notice it. You know why? Because the technology near-field communication simply put just works. NFC works with contactless credit cards, with Apple Pay and Google Pay. You can start your car with it, unlock a hotel door, use for your mobile driver's license, and the list goes on and on. All these activities include NFC. So let's learn what the data says. NFC Forum story started 2 decades ago. Today, it is one of the most used technologies on the planet. It is woven into the fabric of the daily lives of billions of people. These statistics that you see on the screen are from a recent survey, a study that was done by ABI Research on NFC user experience. NFC contactless cards still lead the market, but wearables and smartphones are rapidly catching up. So let's see further what and deep dive as to what the statistics are telling us. So the first statistics that you saw in the last slide is from this NFC sponsored survey that we had, the research study by ABI Research. The survey tells an evolving NFC story. Although NFC is found in most contactless cards, wearables, and phones are rapidly catching up and becoming the preferred way of using NFC. The contactless cards are even now being stored in digital wallets. So we can safely say NFC is truly everywhere and being used by more and more people. Can we then consider NFC successful? Is the question. So I would frankly not ask the question whether NFC is successful or not. Instead, I would rather say how successful can this technology become? According to Statistica, 3 billion smartphones are in use, putting NFC literally in the hands of people. And NFC Forum data shows that about 64 NFC-enabled devices are produced per second in the world, including a growing variety of wearables. IHS shows numbers that 20% of world's population can, if they want, use NFC today. That's absolutely amazing. So NFC is already successful in my view. How successful it becomes is in our hands, quite literally. NFC is everywhere, and probably you see this. It's mainstream and out front. It is versatile and is used in countless applications around the globe. You see NFC being used by Nike in sports apparel. You can click, Patty, on all these, please. The automotive industry, and close to 100% of the 39 major car brands, according to NFC Forum survey, uses NFC for multiple applications. It is also very important in transportation. It was there as legacy, but now it plays a key role as an enabler of mobility as a service, or MaaS. And in an upward of 1,000 cities worldwide are using NFC in their transport systems. Anywhere you need to offer access, information, identity, or to initiate an action, NFC can play a role. Some countries and states are even testing mobile driver's license using NFC on the smartphone. So let me go deeper into where is NFC. It is the most common and well-recognized item, and the most common item that you would be introduced when you look at NFC is contactless cards. And did you know NFC is in fact increasingly being used in jewelry and various accessories to my delight. Some people have NFC chips in their hands, but I would not go into that today. Next slide, please. So what is NFC? And let me spend a few minutes to talk to you about what really is NFC. Simply said, it is contactless. It is tap and go, tap and pay, tap and do. Lately, it is this contactless nature of NFC that is helping to further proliferate the technology due to touch, touch concerns because of COVID-19. And this has been the silver lining for us in a way where users and consumers can use the technology to add safety in their lives. NFC is a standard-based short-range wireless connectivity technology. It makes your smartphones, wearables, tablets, and other devices even smarter and even more intuitive. It is built into billions of NFC-enabled devices in use, is compatible with hundreds of millions of contactless cards and readers already deployed worldwide. Briefly touch, or like we like to say, tap your NFC-enabled smartphone to another NFC-enabled object to share pictures, play music, make payments, access useful information, and more easily set up Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connections. No PIN codes required, no cameras required to scan and try to position it on a surface, no wires required. Simply use it, intuitively use it. It's an intuitive technology. Recently, we introduced wireless charging, and soon you will be able to wirelessly charge small IoT devices like earbuds with your mobile phones or with wireless chargers. And it's all thanks to the work that we have done in the standards organization, and thanks to NFC. Next slide, please. Simply put, NFC is unique. I like to say it is indeed an RF interface, but it is unique because it allows the interactions to be intended because you really need to come close to the to what you want to tap. It is intuitive because you don't need to move around and manually try to align your device, and it allows two-way data communication simultaneously also delivering power. Due to the efforts we have made at the NFC Forum, it has become truly globally interoperable and is supported natively by all the major device OSs. Next slide, please. So let me take you through what does this mean. So NFC Forum, as you can see, we have approximately 200 members worldwide, both B2B and B2C. It's a non-profit organization which is leading world's standardization for this technology. And it drives advocacy in all the industry as well as users. Many of you probably know the companies that are shown on this slide and are scrolling on your screen. We also in this, you can see, have a good mix of well-known technology names, as well as startups and other innovative companies that you might not have yet heard of. Therefore, NFC Forum creates this ecosystem around and the standard around which is this technology and which is useful for everyone. The NFC Forum creates the technical specifications and it drives innovation in the key areas such as user experience. We really focus our activities in a few markets like retail, payment, identity, mobility and transportation, automobile, and now more and more in IoT markets. Next slide, please. So if you would like to know more information about what we do, please contact me. I encourage you to get involved in our work. As you can see, the NFC Forum activities bring the convenience of NFC technology to life. We really empower organizations to deliver secure, tap-based interactions with an intuitive, reliable experience, and to users around the globe, we provide this seamlessly. Next slide, please. And with this, I would like to thank you and hand it over to Mike.
All right, thanks, Prati. Coming up next is a series of different talks about different use cases of NFC and some case studies. Our first guest today is Dr. John Rogers from Northwestern University. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, and I've been really eagerly awaiting your presentation, so I won't spend any time introducing you. I'll just go ahead and let you go. So, Dr. Rogers, good morning.
Great, thank you. It's great to be here and to share some of the things that we've been doing with NFC, kind of at the level of academic research, but in some cases, really focusing on product development as well. I'll give you some examples of both types of activities that we've been pursuing in my group over the last 5 to 7 years or so. So if you go to the next slide, I'm here at Northwestern University. My core expertise is in material science and engineering, although I'm part of an institute that's designed to facilitate work at the boundaries between engineering science and medical science. So what I'll share with you today involves a host of technologies that designed to interface with the human body to monitor physiological health parameters and basically sort of statistics and metrics associated with environmental exposures as well. And in those kinds of applications, I guess you could think about them as next generation wearables. There are all sorts of advantages in operating in a wireless and battery-free manner. And for that reason, NFC technology has been a good match toward the sort of requirements that we're trying to satisfy around these new classes of healthcare related technologies that interface with the body at different locations, in some cases on the skin. I'll show you examples where we interface onto the fingernail, but a whole host of implantable devices as well that I won't have time to cover today. So if you go to the next slide, we're fundamentally an academic group. Like I said, we have activities here on our engineering campus in Evanston, but we have a platform for launching these technologies into the broader medical community in downtown Chicago through interactions that we have with our medical school, which is downtown, but also across the entire medical complex, including a large rehabilitation hospital also. So we really develop new sensors, new NFC-based technologies at the level of the engineering, and then we can prototype them and scale them to deploy in meaningful statistical levels onto human subjects across a range of conditions, primarily focused on beginning of life health challenges, so maternal, fetal, neonatal, pediatric health, and end of life health challenges, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, stroke survivors, and so on. So if you go to the next slide, we're fundamentally an academic group, as I've mentioned a couple of times, and so we publish in the open peer-reviewed literature everything that we do, pretty much. But we do have goals beyond filling journals with papers. We would like to develop technologies that can be commercialized and scaled and deployed to have meaningful impact on the way that we care for patients. And so we have a number of productive engagements with industry sponsors of our research, and in many cases we team with these companies to launch products based on technologies that we've developed here in our academic group. So if you go to the next slide, I'll step you through then some specific examples just to give you a feel for the sorts of things that we're doing. And for people who are listening to the presentation, you can feel free to reach out to me by email if you'd like to follow up on any of these opportunities or others that may leverage some of the capabilities that we've developed over the years. So let me start with maybe the most challenging, but also perhaps the most impactful study and technology that we've been working on during this period of time, and that is in real-time wireless battery-free monitoring of vital signs associated with premature babies who are in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit. And so if you look at the image on the left, that's the care that's provided to these patients as it exists today. So the requirements here are for 24/7 full vital signs monitoring. So all vital signs need to be monitored continuously. Please go back to the previous slide. And at clinical grade levels of quality, and that's done with wired-based interfaces that connect skin contacting biosensors to external boxes of data acquisition electronics. As you imagine, that sort of approach is highly non-ideal for this class of patient. The skin is not very well developed, so application and removal of these tapes on a clinical cycle is typically 12 or 24 hours, can lead to damage of the skin, the wires, the bulk, the physical tethering, frustrates natural movements of the babies, and also prevents the kind of frequent skin-to-skin contact between these babies and their parents that's known to have a very therapeutic benefit on the development at this stage of their lives. And so starting maybe 7 years ago, we decided that a much better approach might be to develop thin, flexible, and even stretchable skin-like devices that could operate in a wireless manner without requirements for batteries to replace what's done today with this highly non-ideal engineering solution with something that would be much more compatible with this class of patient. And so if you go to the next slide, what we're able to do is actually achieve that goal with a pair of battery-free wireless devices that rely on NFC technology. One designed to mount on the chest, and that's what you're seeing draped across the fingers of the hand in this case, and another device that's time synchronized with that first one that mounts on a limb, either the hand or the foot, designed to measure blood oxygenation. So the device on the chest is recording continuous ECG data. As you can see in this picture, this baby is in the PICU, slightly larger, older babies in this part of the hospital, but also benefiting from wireless monitoring capabilities. You can see the device on the chest. It's measuring ECG and skin temperature, and from that, those data streams continuously recorded through a long-range reader. So we have an antenna mounted in the base of the chair in this case. It's delivering power to this pair of devices and also serving as a two-way wireless communication link. So it's continuously capturing data. The chest unit gives respiration rate, heart rate variability, core body temperature, and then you can see the device mounted on the foot there. It's optically measuring blood oxygenation. And so these are some of the things. I don't know who's controlling the slides, but please don't advance until I say advance. So this is, this is what it looks like, and you reproduce everything that's measured with those wire-based systems in an approach that's much more compatible with these patients. So this is just an example of some things that we're doing in clinical grade hospital monitoring using NFC technology. It's purely diagnostic. You might think about possible therapeutic uses of these technologies, maybe provided through a vibrohaptic interface to the skin to alert patients to conditions that may be life-threatening. And so with that in mind, we've also exploited NFC technology, if you go to the next slide, to attempt to create sort of a haptic complement to the video and audio cues that currently serve as the basis for virtual and augmented reality experiences. And so thinking about the metaverse and how do you go beyond the eyes and the ears to create a more immersive experience. And so could you imagine these kind of NFC-based wireless battery-free interfaces as skin-like devices to activate tactile receptors on the surface of the skin, and not just at the fingertips or the hands, but completely across the entire body? And could you do that? Might be an interesting goal to contemplate. And so this is another area where NFC technology, battery-free wireless operation, has been very important. If you go to the next slide, it's just an exploded view schematic illustration of how these devices work. So we have an array of vibrohaptic actuators. These are mechanical actuators interfaced directly to the skin and then connected to a backplane of electronics that allows for programmed real-time spatiotemporal control of the activation of those haptic actuators to create an artificial sensation of touch. And that backplane of electronics is wireless, battery-free, leveraging NFC technology. The entire thing is put together using these design rules that allow for these skin interfaces. And so this is a schematic illustration of how that works. So NFC is delivering power to these devices, and it's also providing a two-way wireless communication link between a touch screen and the control electronics for operating the array of vibrohaptic actuators with very low latencies, typically in the range of 10 to 20 milliseconds. So almost a real-time sort of experience, converting touch on the screen of a computer to an artificial sense of touch directly onto the skin. If you go to the next slide, you might imagine many different kinds of applications for this technology, not only in medicine, and go ahead to go to the next slide. So we have a graphical user interface to allow for operation of this device, not only medical applications, but as I mentioned, applications in the metaverse and maybe in just remote interaction. So for example, adding a sensation of touch to the kind of video and audio call that we're having right now might be interesting. And so we demonstrated in this technology in various regimes of application, including social media, as I just mentioned. So if you go to the next slide, I'll give you a couple of other examples of our application of NFC technology. So the other nice thing about this sort of technology is it's well suited to extreme miniaturization. So we've been able to reduce the size of the coil antennas to dimensions that allow for mounting on unusual parts of the body, and in particular ultra thin millimeter scale NFC technology to allow for mounting on the fingernails, for example, as an interesting alternative to the skin as a mounting location due to the absence of sweat glands, nerve endings, the slow growth rates, and the mechanically stable sort of platform that the fingernail represents. So if you go to the next slide, we've been able to develop that kind of technology. And in this particular example, we're using the fingernail as an optical window for measuring, using an optical process, blood oxygenation, pulse rate, and respiration rate through engagement, optical engagement with the capillary beds that exist directly beneath the fingernail. So you think of this as sort of an optical interface. It's a very stable, mechanically reliable interface that can persist for many months without irritation and without needing to remove and remount the device. And so this is a very compact system. This is using an advanced TI NFC SoC to control a pair of LEDs, flashing them on and off out of sequence, and then reading the response of a photodetector that's measuring backscattered light. And so then again, these can be operated, in a battery-free manner and we can couple power and establish wireless links through NFC technology. If you go to the next slide, either embedded, for example, in a mouse or underneath a table to now allow continuous vital signs monitoring through this miniaturized type of device platform. So I'll give you one more example. If you go to the next slide, one that's actually been commercialized and scaled up. And this was an opportunity that was brought to us by L'Oreal and their subsidiary La Roche-Posay. And so they have a big business in artificial fingernails. They were attracted to this idea of electronically instrumented fingernails and asked us specifically whether we could develop an NFC battery-free device for measuring UV exposure. They have a big business in sunscreen. And so we were able to put together an accumulation mode sensor that can measure exposure to ultraviolet light, UVA and UVB. And so here, essentially the solar exposure is providing the power source. So we have a photodetector that's activated by exposure to UV light. It produces a current output that over time charges up a supercapacitor, and the voltage across that supercapacitor is a direct measurement of the accumulated UV exposure dose. And we can use NFC technology to measure the voltage across that supercapacitor. Using a calibration factor, we convert that voltage to UV exposure dose and store that information in a smartphone. So the beauty of this device is that it's always on. It doesn't require a battery. There's no switch to activate the device. It operates in a battery-free manner. It's highly miniaturized. It's wireless. It's completely solid state and fully encapsulated. So it's a device that lasts forever, but also simultaneously provides very high accuracy information around UV exposure dose. And the idea is that this information could guide customer behaviors around healthy and safe exposure to the sun, and also guide them toward purchase of La Roche-Posay sunscreen. So if you go to the next slide, the fingernail embodiment was attractive initially, but some initial market studies led to the conclusion that probably half of your potential market would opt out of a device that requires mounting on the fingernail. So although that is a possibility, and it's what we described when we launched this device in 2018, the ultimate commercial embodiment was in the form of a small form factor device that could clip onto clothing or eyewear or other personal garments or jewelry. So if you go to the next slide, this was the device that was launched into all Apple stores, is available through the La Roche-Posay website. It's about the size of an M&M candy, and it attaches to the body using this kind of clip, but exploiting all of the underlying technology that I just described: NFC, battery-free, always-on operation. And this was made available commercially through a small startup that we have called Wayfinding to provide the technology solution. So that was scaled up and sold at large volumes and with a companion app. So if you go to the next slide, I think this is kind of a concluding comment, just kind of what's coming out of the lab most recently. This is a device designed to measure skin hydration. Another request from our partners at L'Oreal, being able to measure the hydration state of the skin is something that's important to their customer base, specifically customers of their moisturizing creams. And so again, a battery-free NFC-based device where we deliver power from the phone to activate a heater element that then enables measurements of thermal transport characteristics of the skin, which directly correlate to the hydration level of the skin, the water content of the skin. So it's a very thin, flexible device that can mount on essentially any body location. And then with a swipe of the phone, you're able to activate the device, perform the measurement, and determine local levels of skin hydration, again, of importance to customers of L'Oreal's sunscreen. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of different possibilities. That's the end of my presentation. If you go to the final slide, it's just an acknowledgement again of the kind of technologies that we've been working on: skin interfaced, stretchable, thin devices, battery-free, and ultra miniaturized wireless systems as well, opening up additional sets of opportunities. So the final slide, if you advance, is just another acknowledgement of the work that we're conducting here at Northwestern in the context of this Institute for Bioelectronics, where NFC technologies are playing a very prominent role. So thank you again for the invitation to speak in this forum, and I'd be happy to field questions or interests around joint development efforts, if you'd like to contact me by email. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Rogers. Fascinating. I do want to thank you very much for joining us today. I don't see any quick questions, and we're running just right on time. So I'll go ahead and go on to the next speaker. Thanks again, Dr. Rogers. Have a great rest of your day. Next talk today will be from Paul Meyer from the Commons Project Foundation. Paul, you have the floor for the next 15 minutes. I'm looking forward to this presentation. We cannot hear you.
How about now?
We can hear you now. Perfect.
Super. Well, great. Great to be here. Thanks for including me. Maybe I'll start, if you go to the next slide, just a little bit introduction to the Commons Project. We're a nonprofit organization that started about 4 years ago, really with the idea of building a sort of nonprofit operating structure to be able to build and operate digital services and platforms sort of for the common good. And we've really been focusing on services to empower individuals to sort of access and manage their and share their health data, primarily health data. We were established initially with support from the Rockefeller Foundation, but really with the idea of building a kind of an entity that could operate common utility services to enable these kinds of things. So if you go to the next slide, our primary focus, I'm going to end up talking about a lot of what we've done in COVID and travel and related to some of the technologies that I know many of the members are involved with. But really kind of zooming out, our broader focus has really been what we think of as sort of person-centered smart health. We believe pretty strongly that that individuals should be able to access and hold and share their health information to be able to inform the care they receive and unlock the incredible potential of sort of next generation digital health services. If we go to the next slide, we sort of believe that good health can't be delivered without good data. That whatever kind of healthcare provider, a doctor you see face to face, a telehealth service, a virtual care, AI apps, that ultimately without information about the individual they're taking care of, they really can't deliver quality care. The challenge has been healthcare information is very fragmented and spread across. If you go to the next slide, the sort of traditional approach for kind of health data sharing has been sort of enterprise to enterprise or institution to institution based data sharing, which ultimately means every organization has to be connected to every other, have agreements in place to share data, and it's really complicated. And I don't think this model has actually worked particularly effectively really anywhere. So if you go to the next slide, a much simpler version of this, we call it the sort of bring your own data model, is just give individuals their own information, let them hold it and carry it with them and share. So it's sort of a radically different and we think radically simpler model to solving for this interoperability problem so that people can bring their data and inform the care that they receive. So that's sort of was our key focus, kind of before the pandemic. If you go on to the next slide. What really catalyzed our work, actually, Apple in 2017 had launched Apple Health and Apple Health Records that enables iPhone users to collect, manage, and share their health data. So you can connect Apple Health to your hospital or lab and pull health information down onto your phone. The challenge was it only existed on iPhones. And obviously there are a lot of people in the US and around the world that have Android phones. And so if you go to the next slide, we sort of set out to help fill that void and developed and launched a platform called Common Health, which is really mirrors what Apple has done on iOS for Android devices. Again, allowing individual to connect their phone to all these various sources of health data, and then be able to manage that information and share it. So if you go to the next slide, right now between Apple Health and Common Health are connected to over 800 different data sources, big hospital systems, labs, insurance companies, and others to allow individual again to get access to that information, hold it on their phone, and then share it. If you go to the next slide. So what does that actually look like? This is a screenshot of my Common Health account where I've connected my Common Health account on my phone to hospital, Weill Cornell, to LabCorp, to Quest. I've also pulled in vaccination records from the New York State that adopted a smart health card standard for vaccination records that I'll talk about shortly. And that's all now sitting on my phone. If you go to the next slide, it really mirrors what this is my iPhone, my Apple Health account. It really mirrors the same thing where I pulled data onto my Apple Health account and have the same information that you saw in my Common Health on my Android phone on my iPhone. So if you then go to the next slide, what does that mean as I now go to a new doctor, change insurance, move about the healthcare system? That health organization can say, hey, welcome to my health system. Will you consent to share your information? And I can consent, and Apple works the same way, consent to share that information, and then that information can be used to inform the care. So this is sort of what we were working on pre-COVID. Then COVID happened, and we realized there was a whole new reason that people needed to access and share health information. So if you go to the next slide, in late 2020, we launched a solution called Common Pass in partnership with the World Economic Forum to really sort of prove out this model of how people shared health data to enable travel. And Common Pass really helped define the whole category of health passes. What we realized, though, there was a challenge, which is there was never traditionally verifiability built into sort of health data standards. So if you go to the next slide, there was a format called HL7, which is sort of the standard format for interoperable health data, but there was no verifiability built into that health information. So we worked, with a core group of partners, including Apple and Microsoft and others, to help co-develop this standard called Smart Health Cards that enabled us to take a piece of structured health data and put it into a verifiable credential. Initially for COVID vaccination records and lab results, but this standard is now being able to extend to support all sorts of different health data types, all vaccination records, all lab results, health insurance information, and other structured data in a verifiable format. If you go to the next slide, the standard initially took root with a lot of the key stakeholders in the US healthcare ecosystem. So all the health systems and the electronic health record platforms, the pharmacy chains, the technology platforms, but then, and now about 30 states have adopted it, but then Canada adopted it as their national standard, as did Japan and Kenya and Rwanda and Taiwan and others. So it's really emerged, there are others, the EU created a standard, but this has emerged as one of the leading global standards for verifiable health information. Really significantly, and I think relevant to this group, if you go to the next slide, it was also the standard adopted by the mobile platforms. So Apple adopted the standard as the standard for holding a vaccination record, both in Apple Health, but also in Apple Wallet. And then we worked with both Google and Samsung to do the same thing, to support this standard as the standard for holding health information on Android phones, including in GPay and in Samsung Pay. So if you go to the next slide, what we then realized is we needed to create the ability to verify these smart health cards. So we launched something called the Smart Health Card Verifier, both an app and an API, which is verifying, is it a valid smart health card and is it from a trusted source? One of the challenges is once it gets into the world of verifiability of health data is this standard is an open standard, which means anyone could create a smart health card QR code. It becomes important to verify, is it a valid smart health card? Has it been tampered with? But also, who is the source? It's important, one should recognize a vaccination record from the state of New York or from a respected health institution like the Mayo Clinic, but not from Paul's random vaccine shop. And so if you go to the next slide, one of the things that we also did as this standard was being adopted is to launch something called the Common Trust Network, which is really the registry of the governments that are issuing these credentials, but also the pharmacies, the health institutions, and we maintain that as a trust framework for the organizations that have adopted the standard and are making available data available to individuals using this standard. So that's sort of what we've done. If you go to the next slide, just sort of kind of summarize the sort of component parts of this ecosystem. You have the sources of data that are in the sort of Common Trust Network registry. There are, people then can carry that information. They can use apps like Common Health or Apple Health, And then, there is the need to be able to then verify the information that is being shared through things like the Smart Health Card Verifier, and also a platform called Common Check that I'll talk about. Now, in the final few minutes, I want to shift to, kind of go back to the sort of the travel world, because as I think about some of the promise of touchless travel, I know a lot of companies and are involved in this. If we go to the next slide, if one remembers way back to I guess 2019, the sort of the pre-COVID, the antediluvian pre-COVID era, there was a huge amount of work, and I'm sure many of the companies in this forum were involved in this, around sort of touchless and seamless travel, making it easy to check in and not have to get out your passport and so on and so forth. If you go to the next slide, that all of course ground to the halt with COVID, right? COVID, countries shut their borders and they imposed travel restrictions that really shut down travel. But they were kind of overlay restrictions. So the health requirements weren't sort of integrated with sort of the routine, travel processes and flows. They were kind of overlay requirements that created, chaos and frustration and delay. Now, if you go to the next slide, as we're coming out of the pandemic, I think a lot of countries, I mean, everyone's sort of exhausted and ready to move on, but a lot of countries are saying, well, wait a second, let's be sure that we don't end up in the same mess, if there's another wave, or if there's for the next pandemic. And so we're working with a number of countries to think about how do you actually embed the ability to do sort of health screening, but do it in a way that's integrated with the travel and border crossing flows. So it's kind of integrated into that as a component of that experience, not something that's totally separate. So if you go to the next slide, this is something that ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, IATA, are really championing and encouraging governments to actually kind of embed health screening as a component part of sort of border and travel process flows in general. If you go to the next slide, we published a report recently with the World Travel and Tourism Council on sort of best practices for countries and thinking about how do you get ahead of this for the next time. If you go to the next slide, basically, really the recommendations in the report are, again, allow individuals to basically provide their health information before travel, as well as things like contact tracing information is required, check it against the rules of entry that the governments have, and then provide notice to the traveler before the journey begins, and also notify the airline. So again, as we think about the sort of seamless travel world, like health should be something that's an upstream ingredient to enable that seamless travel experience. So if you go to the next slide, we've worked with a lot of countries. This just was one example, Cayman Islands, where we've embedded what we call this Common Check platform to be able to do that sort of pre-travel verification. If you go to the next slide, it basically gives countries the ability to say, hey, here are the rules that you need to comply with to come to my country. Please provide your health information. You go to the next slide, you can submit be it test results, vaccination records. If you go to the next slide, that's then being checked. We're verifying there are different credential standard types from all around the world. We kind of verify all of them. Go to the next slide. We also, unfortunately, have to deal with paper because some countries like the US have released these very high-tech certificates. If you go to the next slide, what are we then doing in that flow? We're saying, is the document authentic? Is it verifiable? Or if not, at least does it match a known format? Is it from a trusted source? Does it pertain to the same person? And does it satisfy the country's rules? You go to the next slide. So then, back to the flow, we've now verified that the record is legitimate, it satisfies the rules, and go to the next slide. And then basically saying, okay, traveler, now you're kind of okay to enter, and providing that verification or evidence of sort of having satisfied the rules to the traveler. If you go to the last couple slides here, I think we can skip that one. I think just to sort of summarize, and again, as we think, and this is sort of the work that we're doing to champion this with governments, is as you think about again how health can get integrated into sort of seamless travel. again, do it before the travel begins, integrate it with the sort of standard border, and kind of travel workflows, make it flexible so it can support all types of credentials. I think one of the things that we learned in this, last 2 years is there's the ideal of, wouldn't it be great if everyone had this perfectly digitally verifiable thing? But, meanwhile, back in the real world, people are showing up with all sorts of different, document types and credentials. Make it flexible so that, rules can change, and then, have it ready in advance of the next pandemic. So I guess the final slide. That's really kind of what we're doing. Or obviously the last 2 years has been quite a journey and lots of lessons learned. We're certainly kind of keen to collaborate, and as we think about the potential of NFC to really kind of verify and make it easy for me to get through the gates on this on the screen, for example. I think we're very engaged with doing a lot of these sort of upstream sort of standards creation and sort of interoperability enablement to be able to sort of enable some of these flows. So keen to hear from and work with organizations involved in this work. My email is on the final slide. It's just paul@thecommonsproject.org. Happy to hear from you and explore opportunities to collaborate.
All right, thanks, Paul. Hey, we have one quick question, and I'm going to ask it real quick. I think I know the answer. So the question from the audience was, with the increase in health data from wearables, do you see any storage concerns with customers storing health data on their devices? I would assume, I'm going to add to this, I assume most of this is in the cloud, but would you have any quick comments about limited storage on devices and the amount of data that they might have?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a great question. I think the way we think about it is, so not all data needs to be stored on a device. What we're actually, one of the things that we're actually working on right now is something called, smart health links, right? So smart health cards are actually where the data literally is contained in the QR code. And, when it's being verified, literally the data is extracted, the vaccination information is actually embedded in that, quite dense QR code. Obviously, there's almost, there's a very limited amount of data you could put in the QR code, but you can include a link to data that's hosted by the source. So not all data either is going to be in a QR code or even on the phone, but if you want to enable sharing, I can basically effectively share a link saying, hey, here is a link that links back to the data at the source. But to be clear, we're not creating some central storage cloud infrastructure, and neither is Apple, just to be clear. Data sits on the device in the individual's entire control. But again, the way solve the big data problem is, the data can be stored at the original source, and the thing that is held and passed is really just a link, a pointer back to the source of that larger data set.
Right. All right, great. Paul, great and interesting work, filling obviously a needed gap. Thank you very much for your time today. And to continue on the theme of healthcare, we're going to next go to Joe Spears, who's going to talk to us about the SpokenRx project with CVS Health. So Joseph, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you too. Hi, Joe Spears here from CVS Health. I'm going to go over a product that we have put out to market, which is called SpokenRx. If you can actually move to the next slide. Oop, next slide. So basically, we have a patient population of visually impaired folks who, want accessibility, want to be able to have independence and be able to handle their prescriptions all by themselves. And as you know, in today's world, you get a prescription bottle, print's very small on it, so it can be difficult for people with good vision. And so we decided to build a service for our patients where through our CVS digital application, they can actually scan an RFID chip that's applied to the prescription bottle or product itself, and it can be scanned on their smartphone via the application and actually read out the instructions and certain other health information associated to that prescription. So basically, in today's world, they go into the app, they access pharmacy and SpokenRx, which is the name of the app, scan, and there you go. And you can do it multiple times and for multiple prescriptions. There's voiceover actions that will actually provide the user with some instruction as what to do, like if they need to rescan or scan another prescription and whatnot. If you can go to the next screen. So as I mentioned, we wanted to provide these patients with some independence and provide them with the service that they can use in order to take care of their own health. And building out this product, for us anyway, it was new technology that we haven't used before. What is an RFID chip? What can you put on an RFID chip? How much space is on an RFID chip? What type of RFID chips are out there? So we had to do pretty much a good discovery as far as what we are able to use. And I mean, obviously everyone here knows cost comes into the picture too, because we are not charging these patients for this service. So we needed to keep costs a little bit lower. So we wanted to utilize smaller space size chips, but also be able to have that chip be sustainable for the future. So I think one of our pain points was, what level of data do we put on a chip where we can utilize our digital application services to provide information, but also have a limited amount of data on that chip. For instance, I don't know, someone doesn't have Wi-Fi activity, or doesn't, they have no bars on their phone for any service, but they still want to be able to scan a prescription bottle. So how do we provide that patient with that level of comfort that they can access this information at any point, regardless of any, phone service? Now, also too, one of the challenges we have is, we have 100,000 plus pharmacy teams. So, setting up a patient for this service, how to encode a chip onto a bottle, providing an easy process for store teams to be able to encode a device for our patients. And then also, how do you work with the patient to show them or provide them some, education on how to use the application and whatnot. So there were some challenges there to make it an easy process. And also, I got to be honest, with the new equipment and attaching new equipment in our stores, and how do we integrate it with our internal pharmacy system, were some challenges that we had, because we have multiple devices in the store. So just like our laptops that we're all on right now, there's limited USB hubs, there's limited access to provide different external devices. So we had to take that into consideration as well. One of the big call outs, I think I would say, is the space limitations. That was really a key point in for us trying to figure out. So utilizing identifiers or specific identifiers that are unique to our systems that can talk back and forth between our digital application and our pharmacy operating system to provide patients with certain deeper levels of information in regards to their prescription. So that's tricky, and also, but allows us to be sustainable, because we can continuously add more information to the patient based upon those unique identifiers. So we're constantly building on this, making enhancements to it, and the technology is endless for this functionality, and we're trying to think right now of ideas on how to utilize it for non-visually impaired. Could it just be something that's a permanent usage? What can we use this for? So it's a great technology, and I have to give some props to the Envision team, because they were very, very, very helpful in helping us learn the technology, what type of coding we actually needed to code for, what's readable, how is it readable for multiple platforms like iOS and Android. And I gotta give them props for helping us in working through that, because it was something we've never had to work through before. I might have caught us up on time, because I know we're a little bit over, but if anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Joe. I don't see any questions. Real quickly, have you had any quantifiable or even just anecdotal feedback from the program, either through the pharmacy staff or from patients? Have you heard anything at all that your team has been able to get from experiences in the field?
Yeah, we work closely with the ADA, the American for Disabilities. Yep, and the American Council for the Visually Impaired. So we get a lot of feedback from patients through that platform, and also our store teams do, reach out. We also get some, tweets from patients and whatnot. So we can see that as well. But it's a large population. So I mean, we have roughly right now, I don't know how many people we have right now, maybe close to 100,000 more.
Wow.
But I would say our biggest input is working with that organization that works with the visually impaired directly to ensure that, services altogether, not just pharmacy services, but services in general for these patients are adhered to by different corporations. And so we do work closely with them to get patient feedback. We have focus groups too with patients, so we can get feedback from them as far as what other services they would like. So yeah, we do have direct connect with patient information or patient wants.
And I would assume the feedback has been positive for the most part, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, very, very, very positive. Honestly, if you go on YouTube, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos of patients utilizing this, which I mean, they try to block out their HIPAA information, but they're constantly showing, how it works. There was quite a bit of excitement in the industry because we were the first pharmacy chain to integrate it into our own digital application and pharmacy system. So patients are very excited about this because they get a level of information based on, what's encoded on this RFID chip, but there are other services within the application the patient can use that handle or are for visually impaired patients. So they've got a plethora of things they're able to do. So it makes life a lot easier for them.
All right. Well, Joseph, thank you so much for your time today. I think one of the greatest compliments that any technologist can get is when a customer thinks something has happened like magic. And I think something like the Spoken RX application is something that really delivers on that, on that goal of technologists, is to make technology not only meaningful, but also delight us and surprise us with how simple it is to use. So I do want to thank the team there. I know Identiv and and CVS have been working on this for quite some time. So congratulations, and glad to hear about all the success. Thank you, Joseph.
Yep, no problem. Have a good day, everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we're going to change gears here. We're going to move over to the enterprise, and I'm really excited to introduce Merrick this morning and this afternoon to talk about some of the things that Zebra is doing with NFC and charging. So Merrick, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Good morning. Hopefully you hear me good.
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
So let's switch the gears from healthcare to enterprise. So I want to introduce first my companies. I work for Zebra. Can we switch to next slide? I work for Zebra Technology. This is the leader in the RF, ID, barcode, mobile wireless technology solutions, and more. We were founded in 1969. We don't sell our product directly to the customers, but we have the partner channels. We have over 10,000 partner channels. Only through those channels we provide our solutions, our product to the customers. We have around 9,000 employees. We have over 6,000 patents. So Zebra actually was, from the beginning, we were Symbol Technology located in New York, Long Island. Then our division was purchased by Motorola. We were for 7 years about Motorola. And then finally, our division was purchased by Zebra. And now we are part of Zebra for, I think, 7, maybe more years. So all those patents, that's came from Symbol, Motorola, and now Zebra. So global offices, we have 128 global offices with all over the world, 54 countries. So Zebra is not really on the front of the always seen on the front. Yeah, we provide the solution, we provide the connectivity for our customers, and optimizing the workflow operation, helping them to make quick decisions and connection. Zebra portfolio, mobile division, mobile computing, and rugged tablets. So we have many different devices, mobile devices. One of them is, maybe this is from CVS even, we use for the healthcare with RFID, real-time location systems. We have barcode scanning. That's perhaps the most, and also the printing solutions. But we're also expanding to the intelligent automation system. So we have the robots now, which working in the warehousing and helping, for example, Walmart or some other companies. Can we go to the next slide, please? So challenges designing the product for us, and in relation of the NFC, of course, and the wireless charging. So NFC, it's the for enterprise users, it's became as important technology as Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or even 5G. There are some use cases which are critical for the enterprise users. So we have the technology which can help Paul Mayer to read actually the passes from the iPhone and validate those passes. We have the technology which can validate the driver's ID, and you know that Apple actually released the capabilities in Maryland and the Arizona. They accepting now the mobile driver licensing. So we have this technology. Our mobile devices can do that. So we do the transportation ticketing. Everything is based on the NFC. We do the device product authentication. So designing the product has lots of challenges because so many RF, so many antennas. So of course, mobile devices limited space. Usually our customer looking for small devices with everything what they can imagine. So you need to have the 5G, you need to have Wi-Fi 6, you need to have Bluetooth, you need to have RFID, different flavors of RFID, you need to have NFC. So antenna coexistence is challenging. So we always have hard time, to make sure that everything is working as expected. There is no interference, and because of this limited space. So ergonomically located NFC antenna also is critical. We can't just put antenna anywhere because enterprise requires a little bit different, has a little bit different requirements. So we can put the antenna on the battery because there are some payment requirements which we cannot do that. Usually our customers requiring battery to be interchangeable. So they need to be able to swap during the shift. And the shift is also, usually we need to take care of the shift 10 to 12 hours. So challenges for the battery and the charging this battery, it's very it's very critical for us. So like I said, battery swapping is critical. Many customers requiring this, and most of our devices, they have these capabilities. It's easy to change. Most of our devices, they support 10 to 12 hours, and battery capacity is at least more than 4,000 ampere hours. So charging is critical, and we need to charge it quickly. We can't just charge for hours and hours. So charging power is about 10 to 15 watts minimum. Can we advance to the next slide, please? So I want to compare quickly two charging technologies which we use, and also researching more and studying the case. So NFC charging, of course, that's the one. This technology, what we know, what we work with some partners, can get power up to 2.5 to 3 watts. But there is some efficiency challenges. Yeah, we can get a little bit more than 50%, but depends how you tune that. And then is the Qi, which is, can get up to from 5 to 2000 watts. There's a Qi which is from 5, I believe, to 15 watts. That's the pure Qi technology requirements. And then is Ki, which is the kitchen, up to 2000 watts. But if you compare those two technologies, you see the wireless power from Qi is 75 to 80%, but efficiency is very sensitive to antenna misalignment. So this is the disadvantage of this technology. And bulky coil needs really big investment for the mobile device. And like I said before, mobile device doesn't have much room to put everything what we're looking for. So NFC technology is NFC charging technology is very interesting for us, but still doesn't have those capabilities which we're looking for. But we see the advances. Can we advance to the next slide, please? If we start comparing, the NFC charging technology started actually from 100 milliwatts, yeah. So that was the beginning, and it is good technology for the IoT, but for the enterprise we require at least 15 watts, 10 to 15 watts power to charge quickly. So as we know, the NFC charging technology is based on the 13.5 megahertz data rate. You could do the charging, but you can also send the data. So you can use the same coil, which is for the NFC communication, also for charging. So that's the advantages of this technology for enterprises, because we could make the device smaller, make the device cheaper, and the design is this device is much faster. But again, disadvantage is here that the power is not what we're looking for, and the charging cannot provide the capabilities which we're looking for the enterprise device, which our customers looking for for the product. So if you again compare the Qi and NFC charging, Qi is 2000 up to 2000 watts. Data rates is 2 kilobits per second. Efficient power transfer, like I was saying in the previous slide, it's about up to 80%, where NFC charging is about a little bit more than 50%. But the big coil on the charging side and small coil size on the NFC, it's just really big difference. Can we advance to the next slide, please? So this is the advantages, disadvantages for the wireless charging for this technology. So single antenna to support NFC charging and data, that's the great deal. However, we need to tune this. The tuning is very complicated, because if you tune more for the charging, then you're losing these capabilities for data. And like I was saying before, enterprise is the NFC communication, it's very critical. We're looking for the transportation, for example, that transfer data needs to be secure, communication needs to be within 200, 300 milliseconds. So when you start communicating, when you detect the tag and you finish the communication, 300 milliseconds. So when you start tuning the antenna to be more power on the power side, to be more efficient, then we're losing these capabilities with the transferring. And also, most of our product, should I say most, but lots of our products now require to be NFC Forum certified. So this certification is also a little bit problematic right now. We don't know that we would be able to achieve the NFC Forum certification. But advantage for the NFC is that we could seal the devices. And that's one of the requirements. And nobody wants to really have the contacts anymore. They want to have waterproof everything and seal everything. Yeah. So it's of course, like NFC is convenient and easy to use. It's less reliant on coupling. In other words, you don't have to really place exactly 100% antenna to antenna and reading antenna, charging antenna to align really perfect. Like with the Qi, you have to really align perfectly because you're going to lose this efficiency. With the NFC, it's a little bit different. It's not that critical. but the BOM cost for the NFC charging BOM cost would be very minimum and footprint would be minimum. Also critical aspect, because the devices are smaller and smaller and smaller, thinner, thinner, thinner. Even if those devices, enterprise devices, they need to really be able to sustain the drop, usually from 4 to 6 feet. So we need to design, they need to be by physics, they need to be a little bit bigger, but customers looking for smaller, smaller, so it means that we need to make internal components smaller and smaller and smaller to have really a little bit extra room for this impact energy to be absorbed. Can we go to next slide, please? So in conclusion, this is very attractive solution for small IoT devices at the moment, because we, again, like we were saying that from 100 milliwatts, we're going now to almost 3 watts, yeah? So this technology is advancing, but it's not, it's for the lower power devices, IoT, like less than 500 milliampere hours, yeah? Not suited for as a main power source for enterprise, but doesn't mean that it's not good for enterprises. We have the product which is using these capabilities, but it's as a complementary charging source for the one of the battery, because we have the solution which, when you're swapping the battery, the device still needs to hold the data, unless it's very complicated to store the data and return to the same place. So when the customer is changing the battery, we need to have the solution which can hold the power for some time. So you can use the big cup or you can use the battery. So this rechargeable battery could be charged by the NFC. So you don't need to charge so so quickly, because it's a small battery, should only sustain let's say 5 to 30 seconds or so, to the time when the customer is able to switch the battery. So at the moment, Qi technology is more suitable for enterprises because the charging capabilities. But again, the drawback is that this is expensive. It's a bulky antenna, takes lots of space, and it's expensive at the moment. So NFC performance also could be limited by the NFC wireless. Once you tune to the power efficiency, then you're losing this NFC performance, which for enterprise is really, really critical. And next slide. And that's it. Thank you very much. Any question, please?
All right, I don't see anything, Mark, in the chat yet. So what we'll do to stay on time, thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting overview. I know Zebra has had a lot of success, and we are really excited that you're involved with the forum. So thanks again for your time today, and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, and next up, we're going to cover a slightly different use case. If Mikhail is here from Blue Byte to talk a little bit about how they've been helping companies like eBay improve customer satisfaction around authentic products and fraud, and well, I guess fraud protection. It's not really fraud protection. What would you call it? Fraud? I don't know. Actually, I can't hear you. You need to turn on your speaker. I can't hear you talking. Make sure your speaker's on. Yes, I can. It's not called fraud protection, is it? It's called something else. What's it called?
We call it brand protection.
Brand protection. I like that much better. All right, I'll turn it over to you. Next 15 minutes are yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's dive right into it. If you don't mind going to the next slide. So, as the title kind of suggests, the point of this presentation is really to showcase a consumer use case, hand in hand with eBay as a brand and our partner on this. And the stat here that we're highlighting is the satisfaction rate of 90%, and we'll get into a couple of more stats. On the next slide, you'll see, kind of not getting into too much about Blue Byte and our technology and specifically what we do. We'll showcase that through the actual use case, but at a high level, the reason Blue Byte exists is to improve lives by connecting people and information through the physical world. And what does that mean exactly? I'd like to show you as we go through the eBay case study, but in general, every single interaction that we have that runs through our platform through things like NFC, we have a goal to make sure that that in some way, shape, or form improves somebody's life. It could be a small improvement, it could be a large improvement, but every interaction should bring some kind of value to the consumer. And with tens of millions or hundreds of millions of interactions, it actually creates an impact overall. So that's our ethos, that's why we exist, and I think the brands we work with also reflect this. So as we move on to the kind of the next slide, and we can keep going to the next one, really what we've observed and where does that improvement of life and that value add come into play, comes into play across a couple of key things that we've observed and things that everybody I'm sure on this call has observed over the past decade or so. First thing is there's more competition for attention than ever before, whether it's social media, whether it's in store, there's a lot of noise, right? And everybody, I'd say attention is probably one of our most valuable commodities and everybody's competing for it. So how do we make sure that we actually, the attention that we do get from consumers is worth it? We want to make sure that they get some kind of value out of it, and it's a really good interaction for them. The next thing we've observed and that we've seen, if you can keep clicking through, that would be great. It goes to kind of the heart of the eBay story around anti-counterfeiting, diversion. That's been increasing. It's at this point almost a $2 trillion global issue, which is larger than the GDP of most countries. And so think about an improvement of life there. If we can prevent somebody from buying something that's fake, we can save them hundreds or in some case thousands of dollars. Or if you take some use cases around wine and spirits or pharmaceuticals, in that case, you're actually preventing somebody from ingesting tainted or counterfeit items, which is directly related to their health and well-being. So huge opportunities there for improvement. The idea of moving directly to consumer and D2C models, those have been in existence now for a while. They've been accelerated through the pandemic and through COVID. So less opportunity for some of these brands to have a person that's between the brand and the consumer, whether it's in store or in a retail environment. Now a lot of that is happening directly from the brand to the consumer in digital means. And so if we can help them as part of that through the product itself, that allows us to create a better experience. And then things around transparency, sustainability, circularity, these are things that have been buzzwords, call it over the past decade or so, but really are no longer that, right? These are now requirements. Consumers want to know how their products are being produced, where they're being produced, by whom. They want to know kind of the story behind the product itself and the brand, and they want to buy products with brands that are that have similar kind of a similar outlook on this, to make sure that it's ethically sourced, that there's fair labor practices, and that the materials are ones that are sustainable. So all of these things are feeding into what we call this improvement of life. And if we move on, the next slide kind of talks about how do we actually accomplish this and what does that mean? And the idea is, how do you take the physical products that you make as a brand and turn those into a digital platform to enable these things? And so here's an example that we're doing with eBay. If we go to the next slide, we go into a little bit more detail on how we actually go about doing that and what's the problem that we solve for eBay as our customer here. And so over the past couple of years, there have been a lot of platforms, StockX, for example, or Goat, or even the RealReal, specifically around secondary markets. It's a fast-growing market. It's continuing to increase, and in large part driven by some of those trends that I described before. And eBay, even though they were one of the original and largest secondary market platform, they kind of lost some of that steam with some of these new entrants into the marketplace. And they recognized that, and they recognized that they didn't adapt as quickly as they needed to the fast-moving market. And so as part of that, what they wanted to do is to catch up, and not even catch up, really leapfrog some of those other companies and some of those other marketplaces that have come into prominence over the past few years. How do they accomplish that? If we go to the next slide, please. The solution was basically that eBay tag that you see there on the product itself. It's a tamper-proof tag with NFC embedded into it, and it's a secure NFC tag that's powering that. And it's installed onto the items before they reach the buyer, meaning as a seller, you're no longer sending, as I'm sure a lot of you have transacted on eBay at some point in time, Typically in the past, the way it would work is you would sell the item on eBay, and then you would send that item directly to the buyer. Here, there's a middle point, and so the middle point was actually done by eBay in partnership with a company called SneakerCon Digital, and they would send it to their authenticators. The authenticators would go through I forgot how many steps, but 20 or 30 step process to make sure that the item was in fact authentic. If it was, it would get tagged with one of those tags, and through the platform, all of the data about that product in terms of the provenance, the materials, the condition, the specific model, the year, et cetera, would be recorded in the cloud and then linked to the digital identity that's now tied to that physical product. So when the buyer finally receives the item, which would then be shipped to them, they could tap the item with their phone, and that would bring up all the information about that product. Number one, verifying the authenticity of that product. And then number two, really allowing the consumer to enter into this digital gateway or digital platform, as we said before, into the eBay ecosystem, right? Because that's what it really is now. It's not a single purpose item in this case, and that's kind of what we always try to promote, is if you're going to add this embedded capability of opening up this universe, this digital universe, well, use it to the fullest extent possible, and brand protection is just one piece of that. If we go on to the next slide, we can kind of go through some of the other use cases that they are going through. So brand protection, again, making sure that the item you're buying and receiving is authentic was the primary driver here, but then also storytelling and personalized. The fact that you're getting the information about that specific shoe is very different than just getting information about that model or, you know, a Nike shoe or an Adidas shoe in general. So having something that's really tailored and personalized both to yourself and the specific item. Product commerce, so being able to relist that item really easily with just a tap and a click, rather than having to create a whole new post on eBay of an item that you want to sell. So being able to relist that and participate in that circular economy and the eBay marketplace and doing it much easier goes back again to that improvement of life. If I can allow somebody to get something done in 30 seconds versus 5 minutes or 10 minutes, well, I've just saved them some time to actually spend on something more valuable during that day. And then circularity and sustainability, obviously, you know, the idea of getting that back into the eBay marketplace as quickly as possible. So the product commerce and the circularity and sustainability are related. On the product commerce side, the additional benefit is also, once you're in that eBay marketplace, we can suggest additional items that potentially pair well with what you have. We can promote additional items, and so you know, it opens up that ability for eBay to drive additional sales and revenue through those consumers and customers that are participating within this platform. If we go on to the next slide, we can kind of go through some of the key learnings and key results. And here are some high-level stats that they promoted during one of their earnings calls. So these numbers have changed since then, but this is the latest publicly available information. Over 2 million items have been authenticated. The customer satisfaction rate is over 90%, and that's measured by them and actual people responding to that. The amount of revenue that it's driven is close to $3 billion, and 11 million new users as part of the platform, in large part thanks to this authentication guarantee that they've been driving. So it's driven additional customers to eBay because of this, you know, because of this capability, and it's the assurance that you have that you're buying something that's truly authentic. Because on some of these other platforms, the way they've done it is, you know, they'll place some kind of tag or hang tag without any really sophistication behind it, and certainly no NFC in most cases. And you know, you can get one of those tags, a counterfeit one of those tags, and buy that online and put it on a fake product and sell it. So and that's what's been happening in the past, and a lot of consumers have gotten burned by it. So I think eBay really taking a stance on this and saying, hey, if we're going to tell you it's authentic, we're really going to mean it, and we're going to guarantee that it's authentic, has really driven a lot of people outside of just the ones that are interacting with us, but in general, I think from a marketing and promotion standpoint. And as a result, eBay has actually expanded the use of this excuse me, capability. First couple of slides, we focused on footwear, and that was really the first foray into this for eBay, and now they've expanded that to as you can see here, handbags, luxury watches, and the latest thing they've added to it is trading cards as well. And so again, just they're seeing great success in it. Consumers are loving it. It's adding value to those consumers, and everybody's seeing a benefit of it. So great use case all around. And next couple of slides, I think we can just run through it. This is just some idea of other customers we've worked with. Again, you can see a lot of brands there. We focus really on luxury, fashion, athleisure, footwear, things like that, and then wine and spirits and CPG as well, and really in those four main use cases around brand protection, consumer storytelling and personalized storytelling, product commerce, and circularity and sustainability. And I think that's it. So if we have any, I wanted to leave a few minutes for questions in case we got some.
We've got one, and I'm going to toss one at you too. So one of the first questions one of the attendees asked is, so in all the photos you've shown, the tag is on the shoe. They want to know, do people wear the shoes with the tags, or is this more for collectors, or kind of do you know much about that user experience?
Yeah, so it depends. I would say some people have it as collectors, so it depends really on the type of item. You kind of have your Grail shoes, and they could be in some cases $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and the value of that is in large part driven by the condition. So they wouldn't wear it, and the tag would stay on. We've seen people wear shoes with the tag because it's also kind of a badge in a sense, right? Kind of bragging rights of both the technology and the the fact that it is authentic, and the fact that if you wanted to sell it or relist it, which a lot of the people who are in this kind of business do. So it's a mixed bag, but a lot of people will wear it. And in the cases where we do this directly with brands, the brands are embedding NFC directly into the item. So they'll put it into the heel of the shoe or the tongue of the shoe, and then obviously it's you can't really see it, and it's embedded. It's part of the sneaker.
Yeah, we do track a lot of that, and I think that Blue Byte is one of the leaders in that category. Real quickly, and this is going to catch you completely off guard, so you can always just say I don't know. But is there the eBay solution is something that's something you've been working on for quite some time. Is there kind of a more recent, like within the last couple of months, application that's gone public that you'd like to talk quickly about, that might have some similar or different properties from what we've seen with eBay?
Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, eBay we launched in Q4 of 2020, so it's been active for about a year and a half. Trying to think of ones that are public. There's a lot of brands, as you know, they'll do this and they won't talk too much about it,
Right.
or at least let us talk about it. Let me.
Well, let me ask this question. Let me ask a different question then. You've kind of done all these things, and you've talked about some of the benefits. Personally, what do you think is going to be one of the more exciting new ways that brands will be using these types of technologies over the coming 2 years? So you've kind of done a backward looking, but where do you think is kind of how do we escape to the puck? What are some things you think are coming in the next couple of years?
That's a good question. And it's actually one of the brands I was thinking of. Again, it's not public because it hasn't launched yet, right. But it's a luxury brand based out of Europe, and they're tying this in with stuff in the metaverse. So I know that's kind of stuff that people are talking about. But if we think about us and NFC being a bridge between physical and digital, that's one of the places that hasn't really been explored too much. And the idea of NFTs, and I know again, large part of those is a lot of buzzwords, but there is some value in those in certain scenarios. But being able to mint NFTs directly from the product and tie those together, being able to invoke certain actions through the physical product that then translate into the metaverse. So let's say you're playing even online gaming, and you have that shoe, and you can interact with that shoe. And by doing so, you can skin your character in the game with that specific shoe, and vice versa. The activities that you're doing online within a certain game or in the metaverse can get you additional value through the physical interaction that you have on the shoe. So let's say whatever it is, you accumulate points while wearing that shoe, or you accumulate distance while wearing that shoe. Well, now if I engage with that Adidas shoe with my phone through the NFC tag, Adidas can give me additional points or loyalty points or rewards points or special access to new product drops because I've reached a certain point in the metaverse or in the online game. So I think that's kind of where we see a lot of overlap moving forward is, hey, how do you allow those two worlds to communicate through the physical product that's in your hand?
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again for all your support and your time today. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Yeah, thank you guys for the partnership over the past few years and this opportunity. Much appreciated.
All right, thanks. All right, the next topic on the agenda, Mary is going to join me. Mary is here.
I am here.
She's not going to go on camera though.
Oh, I'm not on camera. I can fix that. Sorry.
That's all right. And we didn't coordinate this ahead of time, so I'm going to defer mostly to you, just so you're aware of that. So, hey, Mary, good to see you.
Kind of coordinated outfits, though. Is that what you were talking about? No.
Well, and we coordinated time zones for a change too. So I'm in Eastern time today in the United States. So
that's right.
All right. Well, the next up for today is the Innovation Awards, and I'll let Mary kind of talk briefly about the program, and then you can walk through our 5 grand prize winners that we're going to announce today.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you, Mike, and I am honored to be presenting the Innovation Awards for 2022. I know I only have 15 minutes. We might run a little late because we do have some videos from some of the winners, which we definitely want to share with this group as part of their submission. First off, welcome everyone. The Innovation Awards program started in 2016. This is open to members and non-NFC Forum members. And we're excited to show the finalists and also the winners today. So next slide, please. I want to give that's a nice blue slide. Not sure where the graphic is. There we go. I want to give a big thank you to the NFC Forum marketing and PR team for their management and execution of this program, and a thank you to all who supported and submitted this year. Next slide, I'd like to give a special thanks to our judges, Ben Wood, Julian Voulette, and Pete Cunningham. Thank you for taking time to review the submissions, provide your input, and help us come up with this list of finalists and winners for the Innovation Awards. So next slide, we'll go through the top finalists for the Innovation Awards. This year we had just one category. Sorry if I missed that at the beginning. The one category was the most innovative use of NFC. So all submissions were submitted under that category. And again, we thank everyone who participated. If we go to the next slide. Here we have our list of the finalists. We've got about 10 here that are listed. Some who I think we've maybe seen today in some of the presentations, so great to see their engagement involved. We appreciate all who submitted. We want to highlight the finalists, and we will now move on to our winners of the most innovative use of NFC in 2022. So if we go to the next slide, and Mike, did you prep the drum roll? Do we have that? All right. Well, again, I also would like to just say this program runs every other year. And again, we were very hopeful to be in person this year, presenting these awards in person. We are hoping for the next round of the Innovation Awards that will be a face-to-face event where we can add a little bit more excitement and pizzazz and have that in-person event. But with no further ado, the 2022 Innovation Award winners are on the next slide. Thank you. We have ASA Abloy Global Solutions and HID Global, Blue Byte, Control Techniques, Sentilock, and Identiv. Thank you all again for submitting. A special round of applause to these 5 winners. And now, as part of the Innovation Awards, what we've done, and I think it was 3 out of these selected winners provided videos to demonstrate their products. So we'll go through each one, and I think we can maybe do this within the time frame, but hopefully people will have some time to stick around. But the next slide will touch upon the ASA Abloy Global Solutions and HID Global. This is the Apple Wallet NFC supported access. This has the interesting, it has the tap and go solution and used in a number of different ways. The video that was submitted gives us a nice experience of hospitality and how it can be used in luxury hotels. So I don't know if we can queue up the video for play. This is just about 4 minutes long, but it's a good demonstration and a good experience. We'll all feel like we're where Mike is, which is a hotel room.
A new feature lets you use your iPhone as a hotel room key.
Apparently, it's better than anything you've tried in the past. Rich Jamiro here live to explain in today's Tech Smart. Rich, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Megan. Good morning to you, Chris. Happy Monday to you guys. All right, perhaps you've tried using your smartphone as a hotel room key in the past. It's not that great of an experience. You have to unlock your phone, you have to open an app, you have to activate the key. Now a new feature from Apple will streamline the process. I'm here at the Hyatt in Long Beach, one of 6 Hyatt hotels in America that's using a new iPhone feature, one that lets you store your hotel room key right inside Apple Wallet. And if you've ever used an app to store your hotel room key, this is a whole lot easier because there's nothing to open. You just tap and go. Let's try it out. Now, what's the first thing you do when you get to a hotel? You go to the front desk and you check in. But with this new feature, you can check in from your phone even before you arrive. You'll get your hotel room key when it's ready. Right here it says add your room key to Apple Wallet. So we are going to tap there. We're going to authorize my device. You only need to authorize your phone once. Room key in Apple Wallet. I'm going to say yes for sure. Okay, so now I'm going to tap check in. So here's my check-in. Let's continue. And let's say continue here. I agree. Submit. Now I've got a notification that my room is ready. Inside the Apple Wallet, you can see my room number has appeared, 1636. Let me turn on express mode so that way I don't have to unlock my phone every time I want to use this key. Now for the fun part, let's go find my room. So here's the first test. My phone screen is off and I need to hold my card next to the reader. Boom, it recognizes it instantly and now I can press my floor. That was really easy. You just literally hold it here. It recognizes the fact that you're at the Hyatt Long Beach. It unlocks the door and we can go in. So this is the moment of truth, seeing what the room looks like. It is pretty nice. I think they gave me the best view in the house. They've really thought of everything. Even if your phone battery goes dead, you can still use that digital key for up to 5 hours with a feature called Power Reserve. And when it's time to leave your room, you might forget your plastic key in there, but you're never going to forget your phone. Or if you have an Apple Watch, it works in the very same way. Sorry, it can't run on the treadmill for you. That was so fast and easy. Let's talk to Sid Ramani, the general manager here. Sid, that was so easy. What are customers saying about this?
Yeah, Rich, our guests love this. They love the safety, the fact that it's contactless, and the ease of use. Seamless from check-in to check-out.
It's all on your phone.
It's all on your phone, it's seamless, and it's great.
All right, now Hyatt is the first chain to take advantage of this new Apple feature, which is called Room Key in Apple Wallet. Others will likely follow, and since this is so fast and easy, I now think that this feature is more convenient than a plastic room key. So the days are numbered for those things. All right, if you want to learn more about it, you can go to my website, richontech.tv. Megan and Chris, there comes a time when I am really impressed with a new technology, and this is it, because it will directly make traveling easier. Because I don't know how many times I've disabled those keys and had to go to the front desk and get a new one.
That is true. That is true. All right. I believe you, Rich. I like it.
Hyatt called. They want their bathrobe back. You forgot to leave it there in the room.
That was a nice bathrobe. You know how sometimes they're just really like soft and like just, that was a good one.
You look comfy.
They just charge your credit card for it. They don't care.
It's true. Thank you so much, Rich. Let's go to Henry.
So Mary, one
Thank
thing
you.
really quick to add is that, one of the things that's really great about that solution, which the reporter did mention, is that there are a lot of existing technologies that have allowed people to get into their hotel rooms, but they've been using alternative technologies, not NFC, which is not integrated with your wallet on the device. So, I've had the experience when I travel that I can get a digital key, but because it's not using NFC and the digital wallet, I have to launch the app, and it's very clumsy. And this integration with the wallet using NFC is a really big step, and it's going to be convenient for a lot of customers on both iOS and Android devices. So it's really, really exciting, and I'm really glad to see this as one of our winners today.
Very exciting. And as people venture out a bit more now and hopefully plan summer holiday vacations, you can see some people using that as they're planning or staying at hotels. Great submission, and we're so happy about their win. And that is great video, so thank you, and I'm glad we were able to share that with everyone today. We'll move to the next winner, which is Blue Byte, which I think we got a wonderful presentation. This graphic might look a bit familiar from the presentation that was just held. Powered by NFC, in collaboration with eBay, Blue Byte introduced the Authenticity Guarantee, an innovative NFC-powered program that provides assurance of authenticity of online purchases, including refurbished items, thereby dramatically improving the transaction experience for eBay consumers and sellers. Also very innovative and in-person use of NFC technology. So congratulations to Blue Byte. We don't have a video submission from them, so I think we can move on to the next winner, which is Control Techniques. This is the Commander S and Marshall app. On April 5th, 2022, Control Techniques, part of Nidec Group of companies, launched Commander S, a new AC micro drive and revolutionary app named Marshall. They also submitted a video. This is about 3 minutes, so I think it's best to just kind of jump into that to get an overview and maybe a little jam session. If you're not moving around in your seat while this video is playing, I think it's going to really wake people up and get them moving. So, Patty, if you're able to cue that up.
Let's go. Let's go.
Nicely done. Amongst the many benefits, the key USP for this product is that the Commander S incorporates NFC technology, making it the first drive to come with an app interface as a standard feature at no extra cost. So wonderful job done by Control Techniques. Thank you. We'll go to our next winner, which is Centilloc Automated Inventory Solution. And their video submission will walk us through their processing site. It's just about 2 minutes long, and there are subtitles for those of us who are not fluent in French.
Centilloc, c'est une société qui a été créée il y a 2 ans. Nous sommes spécialisés dans la géolocalisation d'objets. On va utiliser notre technologie dans des étagères intelligentes qui vont être intégrées soit dans le domaine de l'industrie, soit dans le domaine du commerce physique. C'est une géolocalisation par NFC qui va donc utiliser une étiquette intelligente que l'on colle sur les produits. Une fois ces produits étiquetés, on va pouvoir les géolocaliser grâce à nos capteurs. Les capteurs étant intégrés soit sur les étagères, soit à l'intérieur des étagères. On va pouvoir avoir de nombreuses applications dans le milieu industriel, comme la recherche d'éléments via un système de pick to light. C'est un système qui va permettre d'éclairer des LED à l'emplacement des objets. Quand un opérateur doit aller chercher des objets dans une grande quantité d'étagères, on va lui indiquer très précisément, au centimètre près, où se trouve chacun des objets. Donc on a un système qui permet non seulement d'avoir l'emplacement exact des objets, mais également d'aider les opérateurs à retrouver leurs objets. Cela va permettre de nombreuses applications tant dans l'industrie que dans le commerce. Typiquement, donc faire de l'inventaire automatique, être capable de trouver l'état d'un stock sur les étagères d'une usine. Dans un cadre de magasin connecté, par exemple, un magasin digitalisé, on va permettre de connaître l'état du stock exact d'un magasin, donc permettre aux commerçants d'augmenter ses ventes par l'absence de rupture. Et il va pouvoir aussi décider de ses stratégies marketing pour éventuellement créer de nouvelles promotions. Une technologie très innovante, protégée par 8 brevets, qui est développée à Meyreuil, à côté d'Aix-en-Provence, par une équipe de 15 ingénieurs. La technologie de Centilloc va s'intégrer facilement dans les meubles de nos clients et va permettre de compléter un système de géolocalisation ou d'être autonome pour donner tous les bénéfices de notre technologie innovante.
Thank you. And then we will move to the last but certainly not least Innovation Award winner, Identiv. So next slide, please. Thank you. Spoken RX is an NFC-enabled solution that provides accessibility for the visually impaired, so that prescription medication information is read aloud to alleviate any confusion regarding medication patients are taking. CVS and the American Council for the Blind wanted to address the challenges visually impaired patients face. And I believe that we had a couple of presentations on this as well today, and we want to give big congratulations to Identiv and all of the winners today. I know we're running a little bit out of time, but again, thank you to all of the submissions and all of the winners. Next slide, please. Congratulations again. We also wanted to note that the winners will all be announced on a press release that will be issued by the NFC Forum today. We'll also have all of the winners on the new FC Forum website under the product showcase page. And we appreciate, again, everyone's submission and the time that everyone put into making this Innovation Award 2022 possible. So thank you, and apologies for going a bit over, but thank you for all the video submissions too. It was great to share those with everyone.
Right, thanks, Mary. Yes, it was very exciting to go through a lot of the submissions, and I concur with the judges. I think these are some of the best implementations. So thanks, Mary, for your time. I do want to thank everyone for hanging on. We're kind of winding down the open forum for today. I know it's getting quite late in parts of Asia. I'm just going to quickly run through a couple quick update items as we close out today. So go ahead and go to the next slide. There's quite a bit going on at the forum, and I'm going to talk about some of these briefly, but we do have a road mapping effort that's underway. We have a completely new website, which we've talked a little bit about yesterday as well. It really is focusing on development and certification and education, of course. We'll talk about the wayfinding videos briefly, and then these last two items I'll get to in a second. For the sake of time, let's go to the next slide. So to this particular group, because we have members and non-members joining us, I do want to let our members know that there is a roadmap Tiger team that's been meeting for the past several months and has been collecting inputs across the forum around what we should be doing next as it relates to our technology. What we've been discussing primarily is new use cases and how to change and modify and enhance the properties of our radios and readers to make the technology more useful and to know new and additional use cases. That work is progressing quite well. We've been collecting feedback from a lot of different entities. We expect there to be some updates to the radio properties through some of these discussions, and both on the analog and digital side. It's a very exciting time for us over the next couple of years. We will be presenting, this Tiger team will be presenting a draft of that roadmap to the board probably in August, and our expectation is it'll be shared with membership as late as the November member meeting, which hopefully will be happening in person. If you are a sponsor or principal member, you'd like to become involved in this effort, it is starting to wind down, but you are welcome to join. You go onto our member website and find out additional details. If you are an adopter or an associate member, you can still participate only through SIGs. So if you have use cases either in healthcare or retail and payment or transit, and you'd like to feed those use cases, new use cases and new requirements, that can come up through the special interest groups. And again, you can join those through the member website as well. Next slide, please. One of the big projects that we undertook in the first half of this year is a new updated website. The existing website we had was beginning to show some of its age, and what we wanted to do was really focus on education, development, and certification. The other thing we also wanted to showcase is the diversity of use cases. So on our previous website, I don't think it was that clear. We have kind of an entire section of the website that talks about NFC and lots of different use cases. We completely redesigned the information map. One of the big categories of information that was difficult to navigate was our certification program. That's been, we've basically collapsed like almost 30 different pages on our old website down to about 5 or 6. It's made it much more easy for us to maintain, but also more importantly, for members and non-members to navigate. Hopefully you'll have a chance to take a look at the site. We're also very proud that the new design also works on all platforms and all screens, because the technology is found on lots of different devices, not just in computers. So if you get an opportunity, please visit the new website. There's lots of great information available there. In addition to, as Mary mentioned, the Innovation Awards is also being featured there, and also the product showcase. And also, by the way, our certified products has been kind of highlighted more in our new website design. It is the most trafficked page on our website after our homepage. And so if you are building products that can be certified and you're not doing that today, another great opportunity to get visibility on your product is to have it be certified. And there's a variety of information about that on our website and how that can be done. It's very affordable and it's quite easy today. Next slide. Oh, I guess I just stole my thunder. This is basically what I just said, is that it is after the homepage, it's the most popular page on our website. And I've been asking members to make sure that the products are there because it is getting quite a bit of traffic. It's a great way to introduce your customers to the products through our certified products page on our website. Next slide, please. One of the other quick items I'll mention is that as part of our new website design and as part of our effort to focus on more use cases beyond payment, we are experimenting with doing some campaigning on social media. We have our Wayfinding campaign is currently running on LinkedIn and also on YouTube, and it's really targeted at product managers who may not be familiar with NFC. I mean, one of the key themes you've seen throughout today's presentation is all the different ways that NFC can be used in places outside of payment. Clearly, payment is kind of our core benefit, and it's where most people begin to use the technology, but there are lots of other use cases that are coming online, and we wanted to showcase those so that if you're a product manager, for instance, in the door lock category, you may or may not know the benefits or features of NFC. We have that, of course, on our website, but we need to get people to the website to find out about that. This Wayfinding campaign that we are currently running that has a lot of video assets that kind of talk about the different use cases of the technology, whether it be in healthcare, and access control, transit, to improve the experience with brands, to increase brand, to ensure in authenticity, and then also in terms of even smart posters. All of those use cases are featured in this campaign. And we'll be doing a readout of these results at an upcoming member meeting. Next slide. The last two items I think that I'm going to cover real quickly is we do have a webinar it's currently scheduled for the last week of August. Kind of again, continuing on this theme of ways you can use NFC. It's going to the primary topic will be about deploying the technology at scale. So not just in terms of doing these kind of some of these applications, I mean, actually CVS is a at-scale application, but when it comes to in transit or in access control, deploying to scale presents a lot of interesting new challenges, and we want to cover in more depth in a webinar some of those requirements and challenges. Also, I want to make one last comment is around we will have our fall member meeting that is currently planned to be in person. I think my last slide may have that as well. I'm not quite sure if that's there or not. Next slide. Maybe not. No, actually go back one slide. Our next member meeting will be in November. We plan to have it in Austria. It will be in person, and so you'll be getting further details on that coming up. We don't need to go to the next slide because that's a member-facing information only. I do want to thank everyone today. This is the ongoing. There is a couple more sessions left, and then again is that. I do want to, and as we close today, want to thank our sponsors. Our premier registration sponsor was Indentiv, and our supporting sponsor was Shenzhen Kaikan, one of our new associate members. I do want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day wherever you are, and safe travels, and be safe. Have a good rest of your day, and thank you for joining us.